Let me ask you something. I want you to sit with this for a second. Have you ever looked in the mirror, not just a glance, but actually looked and asked yourself, am I the man I said I was going to be? Not the man that the world tells you to be, not the man your parents wanted, not the version of a man that social media is selling you every single day, but the man you promise you'd become. I never really had a blueprint for this. No father standing in front of me showing me what a man looks like, how he moves, how he handles things, and maybe that sounds like a disadvantage. And in some ways it was, but here's what it gave me instead. Um, a very clear picture of what I didn't want to be when I grow up. Growing up without a father, most men look up at their father and think, I want to be like him. I want to carry what he carries, stand how he stands. For me, it was the opposite. My motivation was inspiration. It was refusal. I looked at what was in front of me and I made a decision. I will be everything he was not. And I strived for that every single day. But here's the thing about growing up without a father. You're building your manhood from scratch. There's no template, there's no manual. You're figuring it out. Who you're supposed to be by looking at what's around you and deciding what to accept and what to reject. Some of that was good. I learned early that a real man owns his mistakes. That he doesn't hide behind excuses or blame. That he shows up for the people he loves, even when he's uncomfortable. But some of it was a trial and error. A lot of it error. I made mistakes that a father might have warned me about. I walked into situations that cost me. I learned lessons the hard way because there was no there to guide me through the transition into manhood. The thing is, and I'm being honest here, that taught me something most men with fathers never learn. It taught me that being a man isn't something someone gives you. It's something you build. You choose it every single day. But it also meant I spent a lot of years not feeling like a man at all. Not because I wasn't capable, but because I had no reference point. No one to tell me I'd made it. No one to say, yeah, you're doing this right. I had to define manhood for myself, and that's a burden and a gift at the same time. Here's something people don't really talk about enough. You can be emotionally mature and still feel like you're failing short of yourself. Those two things can exist at the same time, and they're not contradictory. They're just honest. I know how to regulate my emotions. I know how to sit in discomfort without exploding. I know how to have hard conversations without shutting down or blowing up. That took years. That took a lot of pain, a lot of silence, a lot of moments where I had to choose to respond rather than react. But knowing how to feel your feelings doesn't automatically mean you've built the life, the identity, and the presence that you envisioned for yourself. And I think that's where a lot of men get confused. We think emotional growth is the destination. Like, once you've done enough therapy, once you've done enough journaling, enough self-reflection, you've arrived. You're a man now. Tick the box. But it's not like that. Emotional intelligence is a tool. It's a foundation. It's not the building. It can be fully aware of why I'm struggling and still be struggling. I can understand the root of my insecurities and still feel them pulling at me. Awareness without movement is just observation, and observation alone doesn't build a life. So I had to be honest with myself. I'm emotionally aware, but am I emotionally applied? Am I taking all of this inner work and actually using it to build something, to become something? That's the real question. And for a while, if I'm being honest with you, my answer wasn't great. There are questions we avoid not because we don't know the answer, but because we do. I don't ask myself this often, because life just keeps moving and there's always something in front of you, demanding your attention. But every now and again, in a quiet moment, it surfaces. Will I ever actually be the man I want to be? Not in a self-pitying way, more like genuinely searching kind of question. Like, is it possible? Is it already happening, and am I just too close to see it? Or am I waiting for something outside of me to change first? And that last part is where I had to really get honest with myself, because that's a part of me, and I think there's a part of a lot of men that has linked becoming who we want to be to external circumstances changing first. Like, when I have more money, then I'll step up fully. When my situation changes, then I'll feel like the man I'm supposed to be. When the environment around me shifts, then I'll shift. I'm not dismissing that. Circumstances matter, of course. The resources matter. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that your environment has zero effect on who you're able to become, because that would be a lie. Your circumstances absolutely shape what it is or isn't possible for you in any given moment. But here's where I had to check myself. If I keep tying my identity as a man to something that hasn't happened yet, then I'm constantly living in a state of not yet. And you can't build on not yet. You can't show up fully as a man in your own life when you've placed the permission to do so somewhere outside of yourself. Does that make sense? That shift from waiting for circumstances to change to deciding to become him anyway, within your current circumstances, that might be the hardest shift a man has to make. And I'm still in that process. I'm not on the other side of it, telling you how I did it. I'm in the middle of it, telling you I see it for what it is now. Now, I need to say something that's probably going to land differently depending on who's listening, but I'm going to say it anyway, because it's true. Modern manhood has been gutted. I don't mean it as some sort of angry Red Bull rant. I mean it as an observation. The version of masculinity that is being sold to men right now, it's watered down. It's confused. It's reactive instead of generative. We've stripped down manhood of its definition. We've made it apologetic. We've told men that being a man means being small, quiet, compliant, apologizing for existing, apologizing for having ambition, apologizing for wanting to build something. And in the vacuum where real masculinity used to live, we filled it with confusion. Men don't know what they're supposed to be anymore. They're told to be soft but strong, vulnerable but decisive, present but not overbearing. It's a contradiction, dressed up as progress. And the worst part, men are walking around internalizing this message that something is wrong with them, for even wanting to step into authentic manhood, for wanting to lead, for wanting to build, for wanting to be a man. The modern world has told men that masculinity is toxic, that strength is dangerous, that ambition is selfish, and so men are shrinking. They're apologizing for who they are before they even figure out who they're supposed to be. I see it everywhere. Men who are lost because no one ever showed them what a real man looks like. Men who are waiting to be given permission to step up. Men who've been told so many times that being a man is the problem. They're afraid to claim it, but here's what I know. You don't kill what you don't define. And right now, manhood is being defined by everyone except men. This is important, so listen. A man should never have to ask a woman, what it means to be a man. And I don't say that from a place of dismissal toward women. I say it because fundamentally it's a man's responsibility to understand manhood, just like it's a woman's responsibility to understand womanhood. But what's happening is we've allowed women, and I mean society, media, dating culture, all of it, to define what a real man looks like. And now men are constantly measuring themselves against standards that we were never meant to be set by anyone other than themselves. A real man, according to modern messaging, is the one who apologizes for taking up space, the one who defers to women on what's right and what's wrong about him, the one who questions his own strength instead of claiming it, the one who has been so thoroughly convinced that his natural inclinations are wrong, that is paralyzing. But a man's definition of manhood can't come from outside. It can't come from what women think he should be. It can't come from what social media is selling. It can't come from what makes other people comfortable. It has to come from inside, from values, from his own lineage, from what he decides he's willing to stand for. I'm not saying women's perspectives don't matter. I'm saying that as a man who doesn't have his own definition of manhood, one that comes from his core, will always be chasing someone else's version. And he'll never feel like the man he's supposed to be, because he's built on sand. You have to define this for yourself, not in defiance of women, but in clarity of self. I want to talk about this moment because it's the most real thing that I can share with you right now. When my son was born, something happened inside of me that I didn't fully expect. I'd heard people say it before, having a kid changes everything. And I thought, I understood what that meant, but you don't understand it until you're in it. It wasn't just love. That was there immediately, completely, but it was something else alongside the love. It was the sudden, undeniable weight of clarity, like something in me just went quiet. All the noise, all the procrastination, all the excuses. The I'll sort that out later. It all went quiet for a moment. And what was left standing in the silence was this one thought. He's going to need you to be the man you keep saying you're going to be. Not tomorrow, now. In the way you move, in the way you handle pressure, in the choices you make when things are hard, in how you show up even when no one's clapping for you. My son didn't change who I need to become. I already know who that was. What he did was change how urgently I feel it. He made the future feel real in a way I didn't before. And that shift in mood, that shift in how I see everything going forward, it's not because I suddenly have all the answers. If anything, I have more questions now than what I did before. But the questions matter more. The direction feels more important. Because now there's someone watching you, not in a pressurizing way, but in a sacred way. When I think about the future now, I don't just think about what I want. I think about what he's going to see, what he's going to need, what he's going to learn from watching me live my life. And that's different kind of motivation. That's a different kind of motivation than anything I've ever felt before. And it doesn't cure the uncertainty, but it gives the uncertainty a reason to be worked through. Because he's not going to grow up the way I did. He's going to have a father. And that father better be the man I promised myself I'd be. Not for me, for him. So after all of this, the self-reflection, the honest questions, the weight of growing up fatherless, the shift that came with becoming a father, the clarity about what modern masculinity has lost. Here's where I've landed, at least for now. Being a man to me isn't about having it all figured out. It's not about the money being right, the title being there, the circumstances being perfect. It's not about being the loudest or the strongest or the most stoic. It's not even about the never struggling. Being a man from where I'm standing right now is about continuity of character. It's about who you are when things don't go your way. It's about whether your actions and your values are in the same room or whether they're stopped talking to each other. It's about doing the uncomfortable things because it's the right thing. Even when no one else would know the difference, it's about being honest with yourself first, and then with the people in your life, and maybe more importantly, it's about refusing to use the gap between who you are and who you want to be as a reason to give up the journey. The gap isn't the failure. The gap is the work. That gap is where the actual growth happens. It's about to reclaim the definition of manhood for yourself, not in defiance of the world, of course not, but in clarity of who you actually are and what you actually stand for. It's about stepping into the man you promised yourself you'd be, not because someone else told you to, but because you decided that's who you're going to be. I'm not the man I want to be yet, but I know what direction he is in. And every single day I get to choose whether I walk toward him or away from him. That choice, the daily quiet, unglamorous choice, might be the most defining thing about being a man that nobody tells you. If you've made it this far, I want you to do something before you go to the next video. Just sit with this question. Do you try to answer it perfectly? Just let it breathe. Who is the man you promised yourself you'd become? What one honest thing that is standing between who you are and now and that man? Not a list, not a self-improvement plan, just one honest thing, because I think the men who actually change their lives aren't the ones who had the best plans. They're the ones who are willing to be honest about the truth first. This channel is built on that honesty. I'm not here to perform growth. I'm not here to actually go through it and let you walk alongside me if that helps. If this episode has meant something to you, share it with somebody who needs to hear it. Because there's a man out there who's been carrying this same question and just needed to hear somebody say it out loud. Thank you.